Hey, this is Natalie with the Fifth Journey. I'm going to be doing a rebatch soap today, and I kind of have a lot going on right now. As you can see, there's a little bit of a mess everywhere. So the rebatch is basically using a soap that either it scraps, or it has turned out ugly, or the color's wrong, or you got some ingredients incorrect, or you forgot an ingredient. But basically what you do is you grate it down, and then you either put it in a crock pot and cook it, or you do oven bags, which is what I'm going to do, and heat it up in boiling water and wait until it gets kind of a Vaseline type consistency, and then you pour it into your mold. So I have over here, I have 2 bags. That's a lot of grated soap. So this is, let's see, this is going to make 2 bags. This is about 80 to 100 ounces of soap. I know there's a big variant there because a lot of the water has already evaporated out, but this will make 2 loaves of soap. And this is 100% natural soap. So if you watch any of the previous videos in the last couple months, I'm going to have a lot of natural soaps that I've done. So this is all of the end pieces. This is all of the trimmings. When I did the testers, this was the tops and the bottoms, and I had a couple that didn't turn out right, so I just grated them up. But these are all natural soaps and natural essential oils and natural colorants. Now, what I'm going to do is do a monster type rebatch soap. I saw a picture of this somewhere, and I do not know who did it first, so kudos to you, whoever did that first, but I'm going to kind of do a model of that. Now, what I'm going to use for the eyes and the teeth is an LCP low sweat melt and pour glycerin base. So I got as natural as I could with the base that I purchased. So this part will actually make the soap not 100% natural, because I am going to be doing the LCP, but there's not going to be any artificial colorants, nor will there be any artificial fragrances. So I'm not going to add any other fragrances to this. So in my molds right here, I have 2 squares, and this is going to become the teeth. So I'm going to cut that in half. And then in here I have my eyes. So here is one of them that is setting up. So what I end up doing is I used a clear soap base, and then I added activated charcoal. I used straws for the inside of the eye, and this took me a little bit to try to figure out how to do it without it leaking everywhere, because I had to cut the straws in half, or at least leave a slit, excuse me, so I could get the soap out of them. And then once those, if I can get in there, so see how I cut that. And then this is kind of what they look like. So I made long tubes. Those are just little pieces. And so I hardened those, and then I poured the clear, not the clear, excuse me, I poured the white, and then I put the black in the center of those. So what I'm going to do, that's just kind of the beginning of it. I'll show a picture of it when the video obviously first starts. So I'll have the 2 bags. I'll pour one of them, I'll split it in half and put it in 2 different molds, and then I'll press the teeth in, and then I will put a layer. I think I'm going to go ahead and do cocoa powder, since I already have cocoa in there, for kind of a line, like a mica line, but obviously we're using cocoa. And then I'll pour in about half of the other bag, put the eyes in, and then put the top in. So that is the plan. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, get it all set up, and then we'll get the rebatch, the grated soap, ready to go. Now I am going to go ahead and add probably about 4 to 8 ounces of water to both of those, just to help reconstitute it and make it stick better and soften up better. You can do oil as well, but I don't want to add any extra oils because I do have a 5% super fat, and I don't want to add any more than that because I didn't make any errors on that side of it. So I'm just going to add some water just to reconstitute a little bit, and then that'll evaporate out as it cures. So we'll come back when I have it ready and in the pot. Okay, I have my area all cleaned up. I have my giant stock pot full of water, and it's going to come to a boil. I'll go ahead and put the bags in, and like I said, I went ahead and I did about a half a cup of water in here, and I smushed it around as much as I can to kind of get that water incorporated in there. And I did seal it with a rubber band. So what I'll do is, once it is the right consistency, like I said, I'll come back. I'm going to snip the corner and then squeeze it in. So kind of like a big piping bag. Now make sure that you check your bags, because this one, after I add the water, there was soap on the bottom. So somewhere in here is a hole, and I'll have to put that into a new bag because I wouldn't want to put that into my container over there. And I went ahead and cut the teeth. So it's a little bit of a gray. I just mixed the two together, but I think the different colors will mix well together. So I have the teeth all cut out and then have that ready to go. And I apologize for the mess earlier. I did have another project that I was doing this morning because I only have one of those circle molds for this, so it takes a long time to make them. I actually started doing that last night because you have to wait for it to harden, then you have to take it out, finish it up, and then wait for the next one to harden. So I had to do 4 of those for all 4 of the eyeballs. So I'm going to go ahead, wait for this to warm up, and then what I'll do is put the bag in here, floating it on the top. I'll go ahead and shut this part in the lid and let it boil for probably not boil. I'll reduce it to a simmer, but I'll come back and check on it periodically. This will take probably an hour or 2, but this method is faster than doing a crock pot because that can take 3 or 4 hours. So this takes about an hour or 2 for it to get where it needs to be. So about every 30 minutes or so, I will take it out. I'll squish it around to really blend it in, and then do it again. It has been about 45 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and take them out and mush them around a little bit. I'll show you what they look like, and it appears that I think one of the bags, you can see, hope it doesn't steam it up, but see how the water is kind of soapy. So obviously one of them kind of leaked, but that's okay. It's just soap and water, so not a big deal. So I'm going to squish this. Sorry if it gets all steamy. Let's clear that out. I'm going to smush this around. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So it is definitely getting more, I guess you could say, gelatinous. It's not quite where it needs to be. It's probably going to take another 20 to 30 minutes or so. And I did turn it down to low, but it's getting pretty close. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but sorry if it's a repeat. I went ahead and wanted to add just a little bit of color. So I put in, since I was going to do that mica line, which is not mica, but that's what you call it, do that line with cocoa powder, I went ahead and put in about a tablespoon of cocoa powder into that one. Because my concern was that since there was a lot of white soap, that the colorant, that the teeth in the eyes wouldn't show up as well. So this is the nice thing, because I have these oven gloves on. I'm not burning myself. Obviously, do not do this with your bare hands. Okay, see how that's all mushy? I'm going to go ahead and put that back in the pot. Nice and gentle. And then I take this one out. So this one obviously is the brown one. And that one definitely has a leak in the bag. So I'm going to bring it over to the sink so if I can drain some of this water off. Yeah, that's quite the one. And that's the one that I changed out too. So this one, of course, it has a lot more water in it. This one is almost ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this one as it is. And then when it gets a little bit closer, when I cut the hole, I'll drain off some of that extra liquid. But for now, I'm going to just smoosh it around. Now the thing about the extra water content in it, this soap is already cured. So it's, I shouldn't say cured. It's not cured. The saponification process is already done. So when you're doing hot process soap or rebatch soap, the heat actually speeds up the saponification process. Now the actual curing is when the water is done evaporating. So even if I do have a little bit extra water in here in this type of soap, it's just going to take longer for it to fully cure. So I'll just have to wait a little bit longer for it to evaporate. So that's really not a big deal. And this one is pretty much done. I'm going to stick it in there a little bit longer because it's not going to go anywhere. And see how that kind of gets all puffed up with the air? I wish that one ran a little bit more. Yeah, so this one's pretty close. It's not quite there yet. Pretty close. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and switch my gloves out, turn the heat up, because I think that's really all it needed. Push that around. I'm going to put on some thick kitchen gloves for this next part. I'm going to go ahead and clean the soap off of this real quick. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is probably do the lighter color on the bottom and then do the darker color on top. So I'm going to get my gloves on, grab my scissors. I'll take this out. Now I'm going to go ahead and go at kind of an angle. So just like when you're doing a piping bag, you get everything down into the corner. Put that up. Good. And if you can see that, it's very fluid and it is very hot. So I'm going to snip the corner. And these are my thicker kitchen gloves. You don't want to just use regular thin gloves or like the thin latex surgical type gloves. Those are just not thick enough. Okay, so I'm going to squirt this in there. And honestly, it's kind of gross when you do this. I'm not going to lie. It's very gross when you do this. You can see it going in. So I'm going to eyeball it. Get it in there. And I'm anticipating having some extra, which is okay. Now I did not add any extra fragrance to this, and a lot of times when you add the extra heat, it can burn off fragrances. So you can add fragrance at this time, and you can add colorants at this time. So if you're doing it in like a crock pot, you can do that. All right, so I'm gonna get a, let's see what I have. Mash it down in there really good. And you really do want to mash it down. ahead and add the teeth in. I'm gonna do kind of like fangs. Do it both ways. That's good in there. I'm just going to scrape off the top, and then I'm just going to put this into another cup, and I'll just use that separately for soap. And that's starting to harden up already. Scraping out the extras. And honestly, this is just a fun way to use up some Rebatch, because sometimes Rebatch can be really cool looking, sometimes it can be super ugly. So this just makes it fun. So I'm going to take my gloves off really quick so I can do that line. And that'll just kind of give them a little bit of a, I guess, a little line on his face, like a mouth. All right, gloves back on. And then we're going to do the next one. I'll move this, maybe you can see a little bit better. I don't know if that helps any or not. Okay, so this is the other layer. The weight of it go down. Okay. Very hot. Bigger hole. Like I said, it looks kind of gross when you're doing this. The hole wasn't big enough. And soap is messy. Alright, so what I want to try and do is get a layer in and then smash it down and then put the eyes in and then get another layer in. And that is really hot. Just a minute. Let's do the eyes. Okay, and then we're going to top it off. Oops. That's the brown. Take the gloves off real quick. I'm going to put some saran wrap on it. Now, obviously, I have a lot of soap left, so I'm going to grab another loaf out and fill that up. Put my gloves on. My fingers are all sticky. They're slippery. So next thing I'm going to do is spritz the top with a little bit of alcohol. I'm going to put some saran wrap over it and squish it down some more. So I'm really smushing it down, and then I'm going to use the same saran wrap to kind of smooth the top out. So I'm squishing it in, trying to make sure it fills into all the little crevices. Flattening off the top. these guys are ready to go. So I will go ahead and put the rest of this into a mold, and then we will come back in the next day or two to cut them and see how they turned out, because you never know with this. So either it'll be fun or who knows. We'll be back. With the monster soaps that we had done, since remember I had added in the little bit of liquid, but then the brown had leaked, I had to pop these in the freezer for quite a while for them to harden enough to get out of the mold. So I'm going to use this new wire cutter, and hopefully it's going to go through the MP, the glycerin embeds, well enough. Remember I had all the extra left over? It looks like salami. So I think I'm going to do with this one, it looks like meat. So it's still frozen, but yeah, I think I'm going to redo that one and just do another monster one, because it literally does look like a type of marbled meat. I guess I could sell it as a meat look, but I don't really want it like that. So I went ahead and cut the ends off of this, and it is still pretty soft because it has so much liquid in it, but I don't want to wait for it to harden too much, because then maybe I won't be able to cut it very well. Okay, I had to end up stopping the video. It did not go all the way through. It actually stopped once it hit the MP embeds, which is fine. I did go ahead and cut through this, and it cut through like butter. So I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. So yes, it does look like very good smelling marbled meat. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. I may go ahead and rebatch it, or maybe sell it as a novelty soap, because it's 100% natural. It smells really good. It's just kind of disturbing. So maybe with Father's Day coming up, I can sell it as a funny novelty soap. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, look at that. So, you know, with soap making, you just kind of play, and sometimes it works and sometimes not so much. So that's kind of funny. I shouldn't say it's kind of funny, that's really funny. All right, let's go ahead and cut these. I'm just going to use a knife. Okay, so there you have it. This is the monster soap. It is quite hilarious. And like I said, I'm going to let them cure for a couple weeks, lose some of that water content, and then I'll trim them up, because they're still pretty darn soft. But that's super funny. So we've got, you know, the different colors of the natural colorants in there, and remember to use only the essential oils. But we'll come back and take a look once I get them all trimmed up and they're all cured and ready to go.